All right, everyone. So we have another video here from Kage that we're going to be watching called Ranking Every Mangekyo Sharingan from Weakest to Strongest. Now, when you think about all of the Mangekyo Sharingan abilities, obviously there's a lot of them that are really difficult to deal with. You have Obito's Kamui, which is definitely, in my opinion, up there when it comes to the most difficult abilities to deal with. If you're going up against someone who can phase through all of your attacks, who can basically send you to a dimension that you have no way of getting out of unless you yourself have a Mangekyo Sharingan, or no, specifically if you have one of Obito's Mangekyo Sharingans, you can't counter against that ability. If he sends you to that dimension, you're pretty much trapped there. And then you have Itachi's Tsukuyomi, which if you're caught by it, that's it, you're pretty much done. I mean, in one of the novels, he was able to kill a person. He killed someone that he knew within, like, I can't remember the exact number, but it was really quick. Like, it was within a I think it was 1/100th of I think it was like 1/100,000th of a second. He was able to just make someone basically in their mind live out their entire life and basically trick the brain into thinking that it had already, or trick the brain into thinking that the person had already lived their life and basically killed them without actually doing anything. Like, that is pretty damn impressive when you actually think about it. And then of course you have the Amaterasu, which both Itachi and Sasuke have. They're the only ones who do have it. And then there's Madara's Mangekyo Sharingan ability, and I'm not talking about Limbo. I think he got that when he awakened the Rinnegan. I'm talking about his ability that actually allows him to rewind time back by like a few seconds, which for some reason we never saw him use in the series. Which, I mean, if you think about it, that's actually pretty damn helpful. Like, if you're in a fight and if you know you can rewind time by like a couple of seconds, you can go back and you can essentially change the outcome in your favor. Let's see, what other Mangekyo Sharingan? Oh, there's what's his name, Shisui's ability, Kotoamatsukami, which can put you under a genjutsu that you can never break out of. And what's even more deadly about it is that it can basically make you think that it's your idea. Like, you don't even know you're under a genjutsu. You go on believing that you're the one who thought about this, you're the one who's choosing to do this, when in reality you're being forced to do this by someone else. And let's see, I'm trying to think of what other Mangekyo Sharingan abilities have we seen. Oh, there's what's his name, Shin Uchiha's ability to essentially, like, if anything gets covered in his blood, or I think it's only metal, if it gets covered in his blood, he can basically control it. And he also has that ability where he can actually transport himself and someone else to basically a location of his choosing, which is actually also pretty damn useful. If you're in a battle and you realize you're about to lose and you need to get out of there, you can just use that to get the hell out. Let's see, what other Mangekyo Sharingan abilities that we know of. Well, anyway, I'm sure Kage is probably going to go over all of them, but let's go ahead and watch this video and we'll see what he ranks as being the weakest and then all the way to the strongest. In my opinion, I think Kamui should definitely be up there. Tsukuyomi should also be up there amongst the strongest. Amaterasu, I mean, it's a flame that can never be put out unless you happen to have a scroll on your person and you can seal it up, like what Jiraiya did when they encountered Itachi and Kisame. And unless you have like a karma mark or a Rinnegan to absorb the chakra from the flames, there's pretty much no way that you can really fight against it. So in my opinion, those three should definitely be up there. Oh, and also Kotoamatsukami. But I'm curious to see what he puts as the weakest. That's what I'm really curious to see. But let's go ahead and watch the video. And as always, guys, the link to the video will be in the description, and a link to Kage's channel will also be available in the description. Or you can click on the handle, his handle, in the title of the video, so you can head on over there and subscribe to his channel and go watch his videos to support him. And also, if you want to support this channel, make sure to leave a like, share the video out there, subscribe if you haven't, make sure to click the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video. And comment down below with what your thoughts are. All those things go a long way in helping out a channel with the algorithm. So if you want to show your support for the channel, if you want to see the channel grow, then consider, you know, doing all the things that I said, and not just with this video, but all the other videos that I have on this channel you can go check out, and any future video that I post. If you can do the same for those videos, again, goes a long way in helping the channel with the algorithm. So, oh, and watching a video all the way to the end, or at least most of the video, will tell the algorithm that, okay, people really like this video, so it'll push it out to more people, and which will lead to more people discovering it. So with all that stuff out of the way, let's go ahead and finally watch this this video.
Here's how this video is going to be structured. First, I'm only going to be ranking unique Mangekyo Jutsu, so no Izanagi, no Susanoo, or anything like that. I also won't be ranking any unique Rinnegan Jutsu, so Amino Tejikara and Limbo are off.
Okay.
I'm not going to be ranking each Mangekyo user.
Because if Amino Tejikara was on the list, then that also is something else that should be on the list, because it's an unblockable ability. Like, it doesn't matter how strong you are, you can't defend against it. I mean, in the Boruto era, we see that even Ishiki, you know, at the time the strongest you know, character in the entire series. We'll see if that remains the same once the we'll see if that, well, once the show, you know, the series moves forward, if they introduce a character even stronger than him. You know, both him and Baryon Mode Naruto are right now at the top of the list when it comes to the strongest characters in the entire verse. But even Ishiki can't block against it. So in my opinion, that should definitely be up there, but he's not counting it. So.
Or each pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, all of the eyes are going to be ranked individually. For example, Amaterasu and Tsukuyomi are going to be two different entries on the list. Obviously, I also won't be talking about Mangekyo Jutsu that were never shown. I won't make anything up for like Fugaku or Izuna, and I'm not going to put them at the bottom of the list because we don't know what their jutsu are. For the sake
that actually kind of sucks, because I really do kind of wonder what his unique Mangekyo ability is. I mean, I think he was known as like, I think it was known by Wicked Eye Fugaku. So I do wonder like what his ability actually is. I wonder if Kishimoto maybe at one point will actually reveal to us what his ability actually was, or maybe he's just gonna leave that, you know, up to the fans' imagination, because, you know, sometimes authors do you know, do that with their stories, where they won't reveal something that the fans are kind of curious about, so he'll just like, they'll just leave it up to the imagination. So maybe this is just going to be one of those things.
Be ignoring that.
Or maybe he forgot about it. I don't know.
And I'll also move
excuse me,
to manga canon, so none of the Indra filler stuff is going to count either. Finally, I won't be giving any bonus.
I hate that filler.
Who was revived with Edo Tensei, or anyone who had the eternal Mangekyo Sharingan. I'll be assuming all of these jutsu can be used without restraint when ranking them. And that's everything. That covers all the rules I had in mind, so let's get started. Okay, look, I get it. Just hear me out for a second. The reason
Kotoamatsukami is the last? I mean, dude.
For this placement, which I know looks insane at a glance, is something that I've actually talked about before. Sorry in advance for repeating myself to those of you who have heard this already. So I'm pretty sure, like almost certain, that Shisui has two different Mangekyo Genjutsu. It's never explicitly stated that this is the case, so I can't prove it beyond a shadow of a doubt or anything. It's like a crackpot MatPat film theory, but there is a lot of evidence for it, like strong evidence. First of all, every pair of Mangekyo Sharingan, aside from Shisui's that the audience is aware of, has two unique jutsu, one tied to each eye. This is true for all of them, except for Mangekyo, whose unique jutsu were never shown. Even in Obito's case, where both jutsu have the same name, they don't do the same thing. I think that Shisui is another example of this, as in he has two different Mangekyo Genjutsu called Kotoamatsukami. When Danzo uses one of Shisui's eyes to control Mifune, he's able to do so without establishing eye contact, but Mifune snaps out of it as soon as everybody tells him what's going on. It also seems like he needed to maintain it, since the only reason Ao caught him using it is because he was still using it after first casting it. When Itachi had Kotoamatsukami cast on him by his crow, however, it was a one-time use genjutsu that seemed to require eye contact and didn't care whether he knew what was going on or not. He was fully aware right from the start that he was under the effects of this genjutsu, and even explained as much to Naruto and B. Its effects persisted even after he destroyed the crow that cast it, and displayed that he was aware he was being controlled by it. I think these discrepancies can be explained by the idea that, just like everybody else, Shisui has two different Mangekyo powers, and the one tied to the eye that Danzo ended up with just sucks. Like like I said earlier, if I'm wrong about this, just ignore this entire section of the video. But if I'm not, this is by far the worst Mangekyo Jutsu. A mind control genjutsu sounds really strong on paper, but one that can only be used once every 10 years, that requires the user to actively maintain it, and doesn't work if the target finds out it's being used on them is terrible. Shisui developed a reputation for doing this to people, by the way, which, first, in its defense, does mean that the cooldown might be lower than 10 years, even without Hashirama cells or whatever, but more importantly means most people would be aware of it going into an interaction with Shisui. Nobody at the 5 Kage Summit knew Danzo had one of his eyes, and
well, so I just want to say, when it comes to the whole, like, excuse me, and I don't know, I think he's specifically talking about Shisui's right eye, not his left eye, the one that can cast genjutsu on you, and even if the eye is destroyed, and even if they know about it, they can't actually do anything about it. It's still there. It can never be removed. Yeah, I know. I know on paper it sounds a little bit, you know, a bit weird. Like, it can only work once every 10 years, and you know, and then there's the I think that's only the left eye, and I think the right eye is the one that, you know, Danzo has, and the one he was using against Mifune, and the one where if you tell the person that they're under genjutsu, it's immediately broken, and it needs to constantly be used in order for it to be worked, or excuse me, in order for it to work. Yeah, those all sound bad, but in my opinion, I think that the reason why Kishimoto wrote it that way is because he knew that if he didn't include those weaknesses, it would be kind of a broken jutsu. Like, think about it. If Shisui had the ability, like, take the whole 10 years thing out of it. If Shisui had the ability to just use it whenever the hell he wants, it would be pretty damn broken. Like, Shisui himself, I think, correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Shisui himself even said that he was planning to use Kotoamatsukami on Fugaku in order to convince him not to go through with the whole coup that they were planning. And then I don't know why, for some reason, Danzo thought that, nah, I think I'll just try to take the eye for myself because I wanted, or whatever. I still hate that. That was, in my opinion, probably one of the dumbest things that Danzo ever did. Like, dude, you should just let him go through with it. Just let him go through with it. You know what his abilities are. Fugaku will never know that, or even if he did, he can't break through it because, you know, his ability, like, even if you know about it, specifically the left eye, they can't do anything about it. So even if someone tells him, it doesn't matter. So I honestly don't know why he did what he did, but yeah, all right, whatever. It's done. It's no use arguing about it. Excuse me. But yeah, look, in my opinion, I think that Kishimoto wrote it in because he knew that without it, it would be kind of broken. Just in my opinion, probably the reason why he wrote in, because if he didn't, then, like, you'd just be asking, okay, well, why doesn't Fugaku just ask Shisui to go put, like, the Hokage under Kotoamatsukami so that he can essentially be controlled by them? Or why doesn't he, like, they just be sending him out to put their enemies under genjutsu, and it would just pretty much solve all their problems. Like, they wouldn't have to worry about it. Like, it would just cause those kind of problems. You know what I mean? Like, I think that excuse me, the throat's a little dry. I think that when it comes to when it comes to writing, like, writers have to be careful not to give their characters, like, too overpowered abilities, because then people are just going to ask, well, then why isn't he doing this, or why didn't he do this in this situation, or why didn't he use this ability in this situation? So they have to write in weaknesses to say that, okay, well, he could, but he can't because he already used it, and now he can't use it until a certain amount of time has passed, and so on and so forth. Personally, for me, I would have maybe lessened the time to, like, maybe instead of 10 years, you can make it like a month or something. I think that would have probably been a lot better than to say, like, it can only be used once every 10 years. Although even then, it would still be a bit much. Excuse me. I don't know, just a thought. Or maybe instead of a month, like, it can only be used once every few months or something. Like, it takes that long to, you know, to recharge and be able to use it, since it's such a powerful jutsu. Or maybe you could write in the weakness to where, you know, just like with every Mangekyo, the more you use it, the more it starts to go away. You know, maybe you could write in a condition that says like, if he uses Kotoamatsukami, it'll speed up the process in which the light from the Mangekyo will go away. Like it's already going away on its own, but if you use Kotoamatsukami, just like how Itachi or Sasuke use Amaterasu, the more they use it, the more it sort of speeds up the process of the light leaving their eyes. You know, just something like that, as opposed to how it was already originally written. But yeah, let's go ahead and continue the video.
He still got caught using it. Shisui, who again was famous for doing this to people, even activating his Mangekyo Sharingan might give the game away and stop this from working. Based on my understanding of how it works, this version of Kotoamatsukami is so limited and easy to counter that I can't justify putting it any higher than the lowest spot on the list. Shin can control weapons. That's it. That's his Mangekyo Sharingan ability. It's awful. Thoroughly terrible. It doesn't even have a name, by the way. I don't know what I'm supposed to call it. Now, I know Shin damaged Naruto and Sasuke with this jutsu, but this is an offensive jutsu, and it's his ultimate ability. If the best thing that I can say about it is that he hurt his targets with it. Like, we're talking about the bare minimum here. He didn't kill either of them with it. Neither of them were left with any permanent injuries. They were totally fine after the fight. Like, Himawari did more damage to Naruto than Shin did. That said, in its defense, at least it did something on screen, which is more than I can say for the version of Kotoamatsukami that Danzo used.
Yeah, I still don't know why we never got a name. Amaterasu
First thing I want to say
low?
is that there's a massive difference in quality between this one and the last two. Moving forward, all of these jutsu are going to be really good. That felt like it was worth pointing out since I just got done talking about how terrible Shin's unnamed telekinesis power is, and I want it to be known that I think Amaterasu is actually really strong. The only reason it's this low is because this is a list of Mangekyo Sharingan jutsu, and all of them are busted except the bottom two. This is the only jutsu on the list with two different users who didn't acquire it by getting their Sharingan from somebody else. To explain why Itachi's is lower than Sasuke's, it's not weaker, they both function identically, and it has nothing to do with the fact that Sasuke eventually becomes stronger than Itachi. The real reason is because the jutsu tied to Sasuke's other Mangekyo Sharingan exists solely to make Amaterasu better. Other than that, they're exactly the same. The distance between them on this list is microscopic.
Okay. Sasuke's left.
Now that I've explained why these two are ordered this way, I'll use this slot to actually talk about Amaterasu. It's a strong jutsu, a really strong one. It basically single-handedly won Sasuke the fight against B, the flames permanently disfigured the Raikage, Itachi was able to one-shot one of Nagato's summons with it, and even Sage Kabuto was afraid of running into the flames. The thing is, when it's used against people at or above a certain level of strength, it doesn't seem particularly effective, or it at least seems reasonably easy to counter. Six Path's characters aside, it seems like everyone is afraid of being hit by this jutsu head-on because they know it'd kill them, but everyone also always has an answer for it. Sasuke uses the substitution jutsu and he's fine. Obito uses either Kamui or Izanagi and he's fine. The Raikage dodges it. Gaara blocks it and he's fine. Danzo uses Izanagi and he's fine. Nagato uses Shinra Tensei and he's fine. Sage Kabuto just doesn't let it hit him. The Ten Tails lobs off the piece of itself that's lit on fire, and it's fine. Even B, the one person who this jutsu actually beats, aside from the random samurai at the 5 Kage summit, I guess, is able to use substitution to get out of it. So again, like I said, the jutsu is really strong, but it has way more weaknesses than everything I have above it.
Kagatsuchi, okay.
Kagatsuchi shores up one of Amaterasu's core weaknesses, but the person using it has to be really good at aiming it. They just have to shoot the flames and hope for the best because they can't be manipulated at all once the jutsu is cast. At least not without this jutsu. Now there's definitely...
This is something that I do kind of miss, that I really don't like the fact that we don't see him use this ability a lot in the Boruto era. Although I guess technically now he can't, since we know why. But yeah, it's you know, before that happened, I do kind of wish we would have seen more of this from him, because this was definitely, in my opinion, one of the cooler abilities that Sasuke had, where he could actually like he had more, I guess you could say, finesse when it comes to using the Amaterasu. And how he like shaped it into weapons, how he could fire it at people in different ways. He was basically just more, what's the word I'm looking for? He was more adept at using Amaterasu than he was before. You know what I mean? Like the second he gained the EMS, just and it just kind of sucks to know that he just probably won't have this again. Although again, I don't know. We'll see. It doesn't feel like moving forward the series is gonna treat him any kinder than it did before. And I'm talking about the Boruto series. If you guys keep up with the manga, you know.
A non-zero chance that a decent number of you think that it doesn't make sense to put Kagatsuchi above Amaterasu because Kagatsuchi requires Amaterasu to function. It doesn't do anything without it. The thing is, having access to Kagatsuchi but not to Amaterasu is never going to be a problem for Sasuke, so I think this is a moot point. Even though his Rinnegan was destroyed in Boruto, and that was...
Oh, okay. He brought it up, but I was trying not to spoil it for anyone who either didn't watch the anime or didn't read the manga yet. So yeah, there you go.
Cast Amaterasu. For some reason, he can also use Amaterasu with his Kagatsuchi eye, which I don't agree with, by the way. I don't think it should work that way, but
yeah,
it
no.
does, so whatever, let's move on. Sasuke.
Yeah, this was something that I noticed for a while now. Like here's the thing. The way it always worked is that his left eye would cast Amaterasu, his right eye is what he uses for Kagatsuchi, the flame control. But for some reason in the Boruto era, he can cast Amaterasu with his right eye. Now, I don't know if he, like in his years of training, he found a way to cast Amaterasu with both eyes. So even if he lost the left eye, he can still use it with the right eye. But I mean, that's just, I don't know. It's just, it just feels a little bit weird. But it's, again, whatever.
Sasuke basically creates his own Kekkei Genkai element with Kagatsuchi, and using it, Inferno style or Blaze release, he's able to do some pretty cool stuff. In his fight against the Raikage specifically, it makes a huge difference, because as I mentioned earlier, he wasn't able to hit him with plain old Amaterasu, but turning it into a shield using Kagatsuchi made it impossible for the Raikage to hit him without damaging himself. When he gets the Eternal Mangekyo Sharingan, Kagatsuchi allows him to basically completely replace Fire style with Inferno style. It's strictly better in every way, at least off the top of my head. Not only are the flames of Amaterasu stronger than the flames of regular fire style jutsu, but it's also easier and more convenient to use, since Sasuke can just conjure the flames with one eye and start controlling them with the other. He doesn't have to weave hand seals and exhale the flames from his mouth. This allows him to do stuff that he probably wouldn't even be able to do weaker versions of with fire style, like shoot an Amaterasu Susanoo arrow, or combine the flames of Amaterasu with Naruto's Rasen Shuriken to make like a super duper ultra nuclear jutsu that probably would have killed anyone in the whole series that had appeared up to this point, even Obito, if he wasn't completely nullifying all of the jutsu that were being thrown at him. The biggest problem with it, especially compared to other stronger Mangekyo jutsu, is the fact that the black flames physically exist. They are ninjutsu-based projectiles that can be physically interacted with, which means they can be dodged, blocked, absorbed, so on and so forth. And with all the stupid bullshit that crops up by the end of the series, Amaterasu and Kagatsuchi have so much to contend with that they just kind of fade into the background. Compared against the totality of Naruto's jutsu catalog, especially the Mangekyo Sharingan portion of that catalog, Amaterasu and Kagatsuchi just feel too fair.
What's number 4? Hey, the Tsukuyomi. Okay, see.
Even though it's the first Mangekyo jutsu that appeared in the series, Tsukuyomi holds up pretty well compared to all the others. I don't think it got power crept. This is the part of the video where we get into jutsu that are just kind of horseshit and don't have any hard counters at all. This applies to Tsukuyomi, I think, first of all, because it's a genjutsu, so it can't be blocked. I alluded to this when talking about Kagatsuchi, but the fact that it isn't a physical projectile is a massive advantage, in my opinion. Since it's not like an attack, no amount of raw defense can protect someone from it. Gaara's Sand, the Susanoo, even the goddamn perfect Susanoo and the Edo Tensei regeneration are all completely irrelevant against it. For anyone that doesn't have total outright genjutsu immunity, eye contact with Itachi is death. Normally, the target of any genjutsu can rely on their allies to snap them out of it by disrupting their chakra flow, but that doesn't work with Tsukuyomi because this jutsu allows Itachi to alter his target's perception of time. 72 hours, just like that. A lifetime in a picosecond, according to the Itachi light
Yes,
novels.
that's the one I was talking about.
Tsukuyomi was enough to put Kakashi in a coma that only Tsunade could save him from. It was enough to kill his girlfriend, and setting aside the offensive potency of the jutsu, he was also able to use it to force Kabuto to release Edo Tensei, so it can like kill people, and it's also a utility jutsu that can be used for mind control.
Kamui. Yeah, I knew
This
Kamui
one
was
just
going to
doesn't
be
have
up there.
any counters at all, as far as I can tell, anyway. At least with Tsukuyomi, Itachi's opponents are safe as long as they avoid eye contact, but that's not the case here. Kakashi's Kamui is just a long-range kill button, whether his target is looking at him or not. While still unskilled with it, he was able to take off Deidara's arm. He seems to think he could have killed Kakazu with it. He was able to snipe away half of the Genomazo as it was being summoned, and even against Pain when he teleported away the rocket, I believe he could have used Kamui to kill the Asuropath, but chose to save Choji instead to make sure the information about Pain made its way to Tsunade. While there are admittedly no examples of Kakashi killing anyone with Kamui, the same goes for all the jutsu below it except for Tsukuyomi, which only has one confirmed kill, someone who is likely way weaker than anyone Kakashi fought with Kamui at his disposal, and someone who had it used against them when they were likely off guard. Besides, this jutsu has value beyond its offensive power. It can just delete other jutsu completely, even 6 paths level stuff like the truth-seeking orbs. In my opinion, the most impressive thing Kakashi ever teleported away with it was one of Kaguya's portals. He opened a portal to the Kamui dimension to teleport away another space-time portal. It's weird. It just seems like things that should be naturally resistant to this jutsu, like 6 paths characters who are supposed to have total ninjutsu immunity, or other space-time ninjutsu, get completely run over by it. Another thing worth considering is that Kakashi spends most of Shippuden using his Mangekyo with restraint, since pulling out Kamui meant a trip to the emergency room up until the war arc. Imagine if this was one of Sasuke's jutsu, or Edo Itachi's. Imagine how much more havoc Obito would have caused if he had never lost this eye and would have been able to use long and short-range Kamui together at the same time. When I said to bear with me earlier, this is what I was talking about. I'm not crazy, I know how strong this jutsu is. It single-handedly changed the course of the 4th Great Ninja War, after all. If I'm right about what I said earlier, this version of Kotoamatsukami is way stronger than the one Danzo got. There's no way to break it, man. It took priority over Kabuto's Edo Tensei control, and even though Itachi knew exactly what was happening to him, it didn't matter. There was nothing he or Kabuto could do to release it. What I find particularly impressive about it is how flexible the hypnosis is. With an order as simple as protect the hidden leaf village, the Eye could have compelled Itachi to physically travel back to the leaf and mindlessly patrol the outskirts for invaders. Instead, it ordered him to do something that was way more urgent but less immediately apparent: defeat Kabuto and force him to release the Edo Tensei. The only problem with it is that unbelievable, frankly unacceptable 10-year cooldown period. If not for that, then this would be number 1 for free. I doubt anybody's surprised by this. I could probably just end the video here. We all know why Kamui is number 1. With it, Obito can teleport anywhere, become invincible, carry an infinite amount of items, and move anyone he touches into an inescapable alternate dimension. It's both the strongest defensive jutsu and the strongest offensive jutsu in the series at the same time. It's a contender for best utility jutsu in the series too. There's a very, very good reason why as soon as Obito became the Jinchuriki of the Ten Tails, he conveniently lost the ability to use Kamui. How in the world could they have even fought him, much less beaten him, if that hadn't happened? And
yeah, see, this is again like what I was talking about before, where Kishimoto writes in weaknesses because he knows that if he doesn't, then like certain abilities would just be almost impossible to deal with. Like he brought up, you know, the Kotoamatsukami. If it wasn't for the whole 10 years thing, then that's pretty much it. Like you can't fight against this guy. Like the second he puts you under Genjutsu, you can't do anything. Like he could look at you and say, "Don't kill me." That's it. Like you wouldn't be able to do anything against him. Like if he looks at an enemy and says, "Don't kill me," that's it. There's nothing they can do. Even if they know they're under a genjutsu, even if they know that they're being manipulated, they can't do anything. It doesn't matter because it's just that strong. So put in the whole can only be used once every 10 years. I mean, it's kind of the only thing that could, like a what's the word? It's kind of the only thing that could like, you know, stop an ability like that, at least in my opinion. Although again, like I said, I probably would have shortened it to like maybe instead of 10 years it's this like 5 years or something. I think that probably would have been better. And also the whole thing of every time you use it, it slowly starts to degrade his eyes. The light moves, or the light goes away from the eyes a lot faster than it normally would if he didn't use the ability. You know, just certain weaknesses like that. Probably not the whole 10 years thing. I do think that was a bit much. Probably like 5 years, or the other thing that I mentioned. But yeah, if it wasn't for that, it definitely should be number one. Like an unstoppable, unblockable, unbreakable genjutsu that just, again, there's nothing you can do about it. It's pretty damn broken. But yeah, outside of that, Kamui definitely is probably the most broken, uh, like the most broken Mangekyo ability. At least this one that he's talking about. That's in Obito's right eye, not in his left eye. The one that can seal seal any person or anything in an inescapable dimension, the one that you can't get out of no matter what, unless you're an Otsutsuki or you have karma to where you can open portals to other things. I feel like if you have that, you can get out of it. But other than that, yeah, it's Kamui is probably the most I think I would agree with this. Kamui is probably the most like probably the most broken ability out of all of these.
And that's all of them. That's the last of the manga canon unique Mangekyo Sharingan jutsu. This list will probably be outdated at some point in the future, since I think it's very likely that Sarada is going to get the Mangekyo eventually. There's nothing I can do about that right now, though, so, don't be mad at me if you're watching this after that happens. I considered talking about Madara's Storm Generations exclusive OVA abilities, the ones that let him rewind time. I'm pretty sure
I wonder
that's
why
what they do anyway. But I thought it'd be weird to make an exception for him and not for Indra, so I decided against it. It also didn't flow super well with the video because I had to spend the whole I had a section recorded for it, by the way. I had to spend the whole beginning of it explaining why I didn't think it was canon, but why we could entertain the possibility that maybe it might be. Anyway, for anyone who's curious, I had him at number 3, right behind Kotoamatsukami and right in front of Long Range Kamui. I had to make a lot of assumptions for it, though. Like I said, it was a really long section that kind of broke the flow of the rest of the video, so I decided against it. With Indra, he basically just has Amaterasu. It's not named the same thing, but it's just Amaterasu. He even has Sasuke's Mangekyo pattern in the anime filler. But anyway, I'm rambling. Thanks as always for
that's one of the reasons why I kind of didn't like the whole Indra Ashura filler, or the Indra Ashura part of the filler that goes over the Kaguya coming to Earth and then meeting the person that she, I guess, fell in love with, and she had her children with, and then casting the infinite Tsukuyomi, and then battling against Hagoromo and Hamura, and then of course Indra and Ashura are born, and then leading to the whole cycle of hatred thing and the death and reincarnation of Indra and Ashura until it eventually leads to Naruto and Sasuke. I wasn't a big fan of that, and I personally I don't consider it to be canon in my opinion, because there's a lot of things that just don't work. Like for the fact that they used the Rasengan years before the Rasengan was even invented. The fact that Ashura literally had just the same abilities as Hashirama, even used the whole thousand arm cannon thing, and then Indra's Susanoo is basically just Sasuke's Susanoo. He has the same Mangekyo pattern. He has the Amaterasu. I wasn't a big fan of that, and I would have liked it more if he, first of all, his Mangekyo pattern was unique to his own, and then his Mangekyo ability, I would have liked it to have been something that was unique to him. I didn't like the fact that he was basically just a copy of Sasuke, and I get it, like the whole reincarnation thing, but it's like, no. I mean, look, Madara was a reincarnation of Indra, and he didn't have the same pattern. He didn't have the Amaterasu. He didn't have the same Susanoo. So yeah, I don't buy that whole thing of he's a reincarnation, or he's like Sasuke is his reincarnation. That's why he has, like, I don't buy that. Never did, never will. So that whole filler thing was just, it was awful. So yeah. Oh, but when it comes to Madara's ability, he did bring up a lot of good points. Like, we don't really know exactly how that ability works. Like, we don't know, is there a limit to how much he can rewind? Are there conditions that need to be met before he can use the ability? We don't know. And I know that whole thing was written by Kishimoto himself, but still, it's like there's just so many things that we don't really know about it. So it's a little difficult to, I guess, decide where to put it on the list. I mean, look, for me personally, I'm like, if it's not in the manga, then as long as I'm concerned, it's not canon. That's how I personally see it. I understand if other people don't feel the same, but if it's not in the Naruto manga from issue 1 all the way to issue 700, or from chapter 1 all the way to chapter 700, as far as I'm concerned, it's not canon. I don't count it as canon. Let's see, is there anything else I want to add before we end the video? No, I think I pretty much said everything. So guys, with that, we're gonna end this video right here. Let me know your thoughts as always in the comment section down below, and if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like, share this video out there, hit the subscribe button if you haven't, make sure to click on the bell icon to be notified whenever I post a new video, and I hope I see you guys for my next reaction. And sorry, one more thing, as always, if you have any recommendations, let me know about them in the comment section down below. Bye for now.